PharmSol offers a wide variety of services. Means it offers end-to-end services, right, from product development until the market reach of the product. PharmSol undertakes all solutions. We have globally 150 clients, and to whom we are working on right from product development until product launch. And we have an overall experience of about more than 35 years. Let us go to the topic of the discussion for the day. And the agenda of today's discussion is introduction to the US pharmaceutical business and entry to the US market, prerequisite to entry to the US market, and how PharmSol can help you, support you to achieve these things as PharmSol solutions. So let me introduce the US pharmaceutical business. You may be very well aware of the US pharmaceutical market. It is one of the single largest market, national market, which in terms of sales, it contributes 47.6% of the overall sales of the world pharmaceutical business. And US alone it comes to 491 billion US dollars. So together with Canada and Mexico, it becomes the largest continental pharma market worldwide. And let me take you through the entry to the US market. There are three different routes by which a pharmaceutical company can enter into the US market. The first route to the US market is introducing a generic product to the US market through abbreviated new drug application ANDA submissions, and submission is done with CDER, Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. The second route of entry to the US market is through a new drug, through new drug applications, and this is also filed with the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. And the third route of entry to the US pharmaceutical market is introducing a biologic product to US market, and which is done through biologics license application. And there is a separate division for biologics, which is known as Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research. In today's discussion, we are not going to talk about the BLA, and we are not going to talk about NDA, but we'll be discussing in detail about the abbreviated new drug application. Now, what's our focus today? Today, in NDA, we are going to focus on the prerequisite of entry to the US pharma market and USFDA regulatory inspection, and how PharmSol can help you. Okay, this is what we are going to focus today. And as you can see from the slide, entry to the US pharma market, the prerequisite, the number one prerequisite comes as intellectual property rights and product development, process validation, bioequivalence and bioavailability studies, and making a common technical document dossier compilation. And then the most important part of a dossier is to make it sufficiently complete. Otherwise, we will end up in, otherwise USFDA will apply refuse to this seal category. And the last and the foremost important prerequisite to the entry to the US market is having successful USFDA inspection of the manufacturing sites, both formulation manufacturing site as well as API, which is part of the NDA submission. So let us see these things in detail. The first is intellectual property rights. See, this presentation is very limited in terms of duration. So we will not be going through all that technical parts of intellectual property rights, but we will be going through why it's necessary to evaluate a patent before an ANDA development. So we need to understand the critical aspects of a patent evaluation. Having an infringing process and a non-infringing process is what makes the whole difference in an ANDA submission. As per the United States law, anything is called as infringing if anyone has made, used, sold, or offered to sell or imported an infringing invention or its equivalent into the US market. So ideally, what an ANDA manufacturer has to do before the product development. This is the first step in a product launch, even before the product development. So we need to check the patent claims on the same product by the innovator or by any other company who has already developed an equivalent product to the US market. The second thing is checking the patent validity. Validity means validity and expiry are two different terms. Validity applies whether the patent is authenticated or it's not an authenticated one. Expiry is an authenticated patent having a duration of expiry after which anyone can enter into the market. So, and also it's very important to check the country where the patent is in force. So this is what the primary aspects an A&M developing company has to understand before even the product development. So this is a very fundamental knowledge on patent evaluation. What is more important is we need to understand what is Para 1 NDA filing, Para 2 ANDA filing, Para 3 and Para 4. What is 180-day exclusivity? What are the timelines of 180-day exclusivity? What will happen if the innovator is taking a stay on the ANDA which is prepared by the company? What is the orphan drug exclusivity, which is otherwise known as ODE, where you will get an exclusivity of about 7 years. So these are all very vast topics which we cannot discuss in this current discussion forum, but definitely you can contact PharmSol. So let us see the next slide at the beginning. So these are all things which are not part of any guideline. So here we are sharing our experience and the challenges that we faced during the product development for US market. So the very first challenge or the core point of an ANDA development is process selection. Like I said, we are not discussing on any guidelines. We are sharing our practical experience. So we will not be talking about design of experiments or design space or design selection or QT, TP, or any of the things from the guidelines. So now, after process selection, there is something called as microprocess selection, which means that the process parameters like the temperature, pressure, and other parameters which are part of the equipment. So this we call it as a microprocess selection, which involves the process parameters. And this is how it finally leads to a process optimization. And after evaluating these fundamentals, you will get to know how a process can be optimized in a product development. Now, during the microprocess selection, you will also come across variables and which you would be controlling or you would be monitoring through an in-process controls, a number of in-process controls, which further leads to a method development for either for the in-process controls. Also, this in-process controls determines what are the parameters has to be studied during the finished dosage formulation and the method development of these specifications. Now, having discussed about process selection, microprocess selection, and process optimization in process controls, and the method development, we can achieve the product quality, the right product quality, or the intended product quality. Now, here comes the concept of quality by design. Quality cannot be chosen or determined by the testing. It has to be built in the process itself, and that's why the quality by design principles are required. And we need to apply all the quality by design principles when we are selecting the process, when we are fixing the parameters, when we are optimizing the methods. Now, once we determine the desired product quality, then we get the desired product as the innovators. So here comes the challenges like it should be equivalent to a reference listed drug and it should be bioequivalent to the innovator's molecule. And finally, this all sets the overall requirements for common technical dossier, document. And this is the backbone of an ANDA, which I can say. And most companies, when they don't do the process development in the right way, and finally they end up in making an incomplete CTD document, which results in refuse to receive mode of an ANDA, which causes a lot of we lose the time, we lose our money, everything. So process knowledge, practical experience, scientific rationale are the most important aspects of a product development. And PharmSol, with its huge experience on product developments, can help any company in developing the product. We are not going in detail with any of these things because time is limited. Let us see the next topic, process validation. So the moment when process validation comes, this is what the study or document which determines the entire quality of a common technical document dossier. FDA has a very planned, structured, systematic way of approach to process validation. So I'm taking you through the requirements of process validation as per USFDA guidelines on process validation. First, we need to fix the approach to process validation. The stage one is the process design. Process design is nothing but getting a comprehensive idea of the entire process that we are going to validate. The first thing is gaining the process knowledge generally happens from the process development dossier. Means some companies call it as a technical dossier or a technology transfer document. So from which the complete process knowledge is gained. And it's not the process knowledge gained from the technology transfer dossier is not sufficient. The company has also need to study the commercial facility design, the equipment capacities, what kind of equipments, what is the principle of operation of those equipments. So together with these two knowledge, the company can achieve a structured way of understanding the process. So this is one aspect of determining the process design. Another aspect is process control. So the process control comes from two aspects. One is understanding the material requirements. Material requirement means what kind of a material we need to use in the manufacturing process, what should be its quality, what should be its grade, and what is the quantity requirements for a particular batch. And the process control also includes the equipment capacities, understanding the working volumes and fixing a batch size. These are all coming under the equipment capacity. So together, this material requirements and understanding of equipment capacity, establishes a master formula record for your process validation. So this is how a master formula record takes birth in the quality system. And now the stage two is process qualification. So far we were trying to establish a process which can be validated in a particular manufacturing facility. The process qualification is a stage where we are verifying everything. So the first one is qualification of utilities and equipment. So whereas in the first stage we have seen only the equipment capacities material requirements and what is the commercial facility design and so on. So in the second stage, we are verifying whether the utility is qualified, the equipment is qualified, whether the complete facility is ready and suitable for the process validation studies. So another part of the process qualification is the process performance qualification. This is the place where we are taking 3 consecutive batches for the manufacturing, from where we are constituting and process validation exercise. So in the process performance qualification, 3 consecutive batches are taken. Most of the companies, they ask a question before the process validation. Is it okay if we take a batch whenever we have a market requirement? It cannot be accepted as a process validation because the requirements are very clear. It has to be 3 consecutive process validation batches. Some companies, they ask whether can we release a process validation batch immediately after the manufacturing. The answer is no, because the process validation batches are mainly meant for ANDA submission and to fulfill the requirements of a dossier. So we may not be able to sell the product in the market. So the third stage is a continuous process, continued process verification, and this is the place. This is something happens post process validation, and when you do routine commercial production after ANDA submission, as well as when during the product launch, you will be doing it. So we will not be discussing in detail with respect to continued process verification at this point of time. So let us go on to the next requirement of a prerequisite to entry to the US market. So let us go to the next topic, BBA studies, which is one of the prerequisites for entry to the US market. So, in these studies, in bioequivalent studies, the first and the fundamental factor which plays a critical role is the selection of a CRO. CRO means a contract research organization, which is involved in the research of or doing a study of bioequivalence. So bioequivalence is nothing but the comparability of bioavailabilities. So the innovator's drug and the generic drug are compared with respect to its bioavailability, which in terms constitutes bioequivalence. So the second major factor is the qualification of a CRO. What kind of a CRO can be engaged for conducting these studies? What would be its requirements? So, and the third one is, and the most core part of a BE study is determining the study design. Whether the risk of pharmacotherapeutic failure is there during the, it's very important to understand the risk of pharmacotherapeutic failure during the study design of a BE study. Second is determining the need of in vivo bioequivalence, that we will discuss separately. Third is justifying the risk of in vitro bioequivalence. And the fourth is determining the risk of bioinequivalence. Okay. Now coming back to the determining the need of in vivo bioequivalence, there are very important things like the solubility of the drug, unstable nature of the drug, and the metastable nature of the drug, and the poor permeability of the drug in the human body. These constitute the major challenges in a bioequivalence study. So if you look at the immediate release solid oral dosage forms according to 21 CFR 320.22, you can also get waiver of these studies in certain circumstances. So the next topic is the CTD dossier compilation, and how the CTD dossier compilation plays a very important role into the entry to the US pharma market. So the CTD dossier compilation, the first and foremost challenge is it has to be formatted for to support electronic submission. What's very important is that the compiled dossier should be suitable for an electronic submission. Right from the year 2010, CTD dossiers are mandatorily to be submitted to USFDA through the electronic portal and using e-submission gateways. So this is one of the first challenges in dossier compilation. Second and the foremost challenge in a dossier compilation is, according to 21 CFR 505J Part 2 Subpart A, a dossier has to be sufficiently complete. This is the term which is often used by the regulators, and this is the term which often comes across when an ANDA submission is concerned. What is sufficiently complete? Sufficiently complete means FDA has defined a checklist as part of 505J, and it also have a manual of policies at the CDER, according to which all the data has to be submitted in the ANDA without any deficiencies. Okay. And the next challenge in a CTD dossier compilation is the GDUFA fee. GDUFA is generic drug user fee, which is established in the year 2012, and it has two parts. One is the fee for ANDA, another is the fee for your facility. On the other side, what causes more problem during an NDA submission? When we are not making a single continuous unbooked PDF files as part of the electronic submission, it directly calls for a status of refuse to receive. FDA refused to receive your ANDA. This is not the only concern. FDA has given 5 major deficiencies as listed in the guideline. And apart from that, if there is one major deficiency or if there are 10 minor deficiencies together, then the ANDA receives the status of refuse to receive. And also, in certain cases, when the company has not made the payment for GDUFA, then also the ANDA is refused. FDA refuses to receive the ANDA. So missing key informations, which I have said, either it can be one of the major information or it can be a group of 10 minor deficiencies together, causes the status of refuse to receive. So this another new dimensional issues which comes during the CTD dossier is authentication of data, which leads to greater troubles than any of the issues cited in this presentation. Authentication of data is nothing but ensuring the data integrity and compliance of the data, which is part of the ANDA. Most companies, particularly after the year 2013, almost every company has created its own data reliability offices, or they appoint consultants like PharmSol to verify the authenticity of data, from where the data is coming from, whether the data is attributable, whether the data is accurate, whether the data is original. These causes the concerns. So data integrity is compliance generally verified before the ANDA submission, and some companies follow this data integrity and compliance throughout the life cycle of the product, right from the product development until the last commercial batch manufacturing of the product. So this is one of the most important place of a dossier compilation, which turns the whole table. Means if you ever happen to get a refuse to receive, probably you can amend your amend your ANDA, and you can go back to FDA. And anything happens with respect to GDUFA fees or facility fees, then we can make the payment and we can submit the dossier. But when something happens on the data integrity and compliance, this is seriously reviewed by FDA, and some companies for the next 5 or 6 years, they were prohibited to enter into the USFDA market because of the remedial actions and actions that require the trust of FDA again. So this is one of the most important point in NDA submission. And there are many questions that comes to the minds of manufacturer who is aspiring to enter into the US market. Someone asks, can a manufacturer from China supply a product to USA without submitting an ANDA or DMF? It's not possible. The first request to enter, the most formal, point of entering into the US market is through the submission of an ANDA, which also has the reference to the drug master files from where the for the particular API or the source of the API. Then who is triggering the inspection of an API site? So it is the ANDA manufacturer who has sourced an API for the particular product is triggering the inspection for API site. So most people ask this question, how long it takes to supply a product from filing of an ANDA into the US market. As per the data of August 2019, it takes an average period of 27 months when the ANDA is clear without no deficiencies, which is sufficiently complete at the time of submission. So what makes the rest of the time? Generally, it takes 2 to 4 years, right from the product development to the launch of the product into the US market. USFDA inspects the manufacturing site before the launch of the product into the US market. So this also we'll be seeing in the upcoming slides. And what will USFDA inspect in the manufacturing site? This also we are covering in today's session. And when we need to discuss with the USFDA, this is necessary to discuss with the USFDA at the time of submission of ANDA. Yes, we need to discuss with the USFDA when we make a complex drug product submission with USFDA, not only at the time of submission of complex drug products, even before the product development, it is necessary to discuss with FDA about the product development for complex products. So sometimes we also, in most cases, it happens that the product development meeting happens with FDA for the complex drug products. Number 2, and before the ANDA submission. Number 3, midway review meetings. During the review also, FDA, the manufacturer meets the FDA to discuss on the complex issues involved in the complex drug product development and submission. And here is the data of the overall ANDA submitted in the year 2019, and the first quarter on your left side of the screen, you can see almost in the first quarter 1,865 ANDAs are waiting for FDA action. ANDA is always subjected on queue for review. So there are modes by which you can prioritize the review of your ANDA. So PharmSol can assist you in making the right or ANDA, and which can make your ANDA sufficiently complete at the right first time, which can avoid an RTR, which boosts your timelines and it restricts your timelines to less than 27 months for approval. So we have reached the final stages of our discussion. We are going to see about how FDA works with respect to USFDA inspection, how the manufacturer is expected to get ready for the USFDA inspection. Now, Here comes the USFDA inspection process. A company which files ANDA or which files an ANDA new drug application or a biologics license application, and the API manufacturing company, the DMF which supports the ANDA submission, both they receive a form called Form 482 Notice of Inspection. So, like we discussed earlier, there are two types of inspection, or there are inspections at two different occasions. The first occasion of inspection is pre-approval inspection, and the second occasion of inspection is post-approval inspection. Pre-approval inspection happens before the approval of your ANDA, which means after the submission of your ANDA, inspection is triggered and the FDA comes to the site. Pre-approval inspection generally happens before the approval of your ANDA. Post-approval inspection happens after the approval of your ANDA. So, what happens during the inspection of the manufacturing facility? In most cases, when everything is okay, when there are no specific issues, when there are no special causes, FDA adopts to go for 6-system inspection model. 6-system inspection model is nothing but a composition of 6 different systems, like material system. Material system is nothing but the material management, which includes your warehousing practices, which includes your vendor qualification. How do you procure, receive, store, test, approve your materials in your company? That constitutes your material management system. The most important material management system is like the risk of contamination, the risk of cross-contamination and mix-up. The risk of contamination may happen in the warehouse, in the material management system, when non-dedicated sampling or dispensing booth is used for the dispensing of the materials into the production. Mix-up can happen when there is no sufficient place for storage of different category of materials. Then there is a possibility of mix-up. And then cross-contamination can happen wherever there is event when you when the product is exposed to the atmosphere, or when the product is handled as such. So this is how the material management system comes into the most critical, and it comes into the as a very first event of USFDA inspection. As part of the USFDA inspection, the inspectors looks at what kind of controls the manufacturing environment is having. For example, if the company is having a computerized system or an electronic application like ERP, SAP, then FDA looks at the computer system validation also. And the second system is called as the laboratory system, which is nothing but the quality control aspects of a company. Production system, like I have explained in the material management system, in the production system, there are 3 important aspects. The first aspect is to determine what is the risk of contamination, cross-contamination, and mix-up during the manufacturing process. The second aspect of a production system is the facility design. Facility design, I'll take one example. I'll not go very deep now. The facility design is, let us take an example of a manufacturing site which is having 5 different buildings, and each one is involved in a different type of therapeutic drug. For example, one building is into the manufacturing of penums, another building is into the manufacturing of cephalosporins, another building is into the manufacturing of penicillins, another building is involved in the manufacturing of oncology product, and the 5th building, that is, let us assume that is the building which is in the scope of USFDA inspection, which is producing general drug category or of generic drug products. Now, as part of the facility design, we need to establish that the products that are manufactured from the building 5, which is under the scope of inspection, is free from any contaminants from the rest of the 4 buildings. So the facility has to be designed in such a way that it prevents or minimizes the risk of contamination, cross-contamination, and mix-ups. And the third most important aspect is the equipments and the process. Okay. So, like we discussed, the first point is of manufacturing is risk of contamination. So, risk of contamination generally comes from the man, machine, and material, and also from the environment. So, how do we control the man movement? How do we control the material movement? So in some companies, we see an pass box which also accommodates the incoming approved material, and at the same time, parallelly, the company moves the waste which are generated out of the process in the same pass box in the opposite way of the entry of the raw material. These things are directly considered as a risk of contamination or packaging and labeling. So I will not talk everything about packaging and labeling. The most and current burning issue on packaging and labeling is the serialization. At present, PharmSol, offering its solutions to serialization to a lot of clients across the world. So serialization is basically to avoid counterfeit drugs, or in Europe, it's called as falsified medicines. So these are the things which are reviewed as part of an inspection, USFDA inspection, and then as an outcome of the inspection, FDA gives its observation in a form which is called as Form 483 observations. The observations are given in 3 different categories. The first category is called as NAI category, which is which is famously known as no action indicated, which generally results no 483 observations and perfect level of compliance during inspections. It happens generally with new companies, greenfield projects, companies with very less batch manufacturing history, where the company has a very good experience on handling inspections, developing a perfect quality management system, results into 043 status. And the EAR is called as Establishment Inspection Report, which also carries all that takes place during the USFDA inspection. So when there are no observations, then you will be granted an acceptance to your GMP practices. So FDA is very, very clear on giving the GMP. FDA never gives or says that the GMP is approved. It says that at the time of inspection, the GMP conditions were found to be acceptable to the standards of 21 CFR regulations and other USFDA guidelines. So they never give an approval. So they just accept the GMP, and that too with the condition that at the time of inspection, it is found to be accepted. So the second category is VAI category, which is otherwise known as voluntary action indicated. So here you will get a number of 483 observations, maybe minor to major observations, which indirectly affects the quality and compliance of the product, but and satisfactory response ensures that you will get acceptance to your GMP practices. The third category of observation is OAI category, which is otherwise known as official action indicated. These are all generally, termed to be the most critical observations which FDA finds during an inspection. An example of OAI category observation is data integrity issues, which I have indicated during the discussion on A&E submissions and CTD dossiers preparation. Okay. So this is a very short description of a USFDA inspection process. We'll also see more into the outcome of USFDA inspection. Here is some data which I have collected from the FDA website. The top 483, top 5 category of 483 observations. The first category is procedures not in writing, not fully followed. In my opinion, this is the beginning of data integrity issue. When procedures are not in writing, you are doing something on your own, which is otherwise a data integrity issue. You are doing something on your own and it is not written, means it is obviously a data integrity issue only. So it cannot be considered as a minor observation. Always it leads to critical consequences. Particularly in the quality control, when you are doing something which is not written, which means that you are following a new method which is not part of the procedure, which is not part of the ANDA, and that may lead to any situation. So 21 CFR 211 part 22D describes how the procedures to be followed and where procedures are to be recorded. So the second biggest category of observations comes from the investigation of discrepancies and failures. Scientifically sound laboratory controls. It is lack of scientifically sound laboratory controls. The procedure says the sampling from the procedure says a homogenized sampling, but the company samples only from the top of the container. So this is contrary to the procedure versus the practice, and this directly leads to an FDA Form 483 observations. Absence of written procedures. Some companies, they do not make an SOP for a few testings or few processes which are part of utility, mainly in the engineering aspects. Like a company is performing sanitization of its water system, but there is no procedure because it is considered as an engineering science and it's not available as a GMP practice. So, in such cases, you will get an 483 against the reference to 21 CFR 211.100. So there are different categories by which you will get 483 observations, and these are the next top 5 category of 483 observations. Testing and release for distribution. Uh, you know, Means the company is testing a product with respect to a specification, but not all parameters are tested. Some parameters are awaiting its results, but still the company has decided to release the batch. There are certain cases where the control procedures are not established or not monitored, or it is not validated to the requirements. In most cases, for sterile drug manufacturers, microbiological contamination is not fully followed. Those conditions also can lead to a Form 483 situations. See, PharmSol has its own way of preparing a site for let it be any inspection, let it be an USFDA inspection or let it be an UGMP inspection. PharmSol has a unique way of preparing a site for inspection. So it's not an guidance from a remote place. We come to the site, we work on the site. So through our systematic controls, we prepare the site for UGMP or USFDA inspection. Okay, so the first stage of an preparation of a site is performing a gap analysis audit. We generally call it as taking the blueprint of a site from the gap analysis audit. So the gap analysis audit is done as per the 6 system inspection model which FDA is following, and 2 to 3 certified auditors and a subject matter expert, they plan for the audit and they conduct the audit on site. The gap analysis audit gives an formal written comprehensive gap analysis audit, which not only talks about the observations, which also carries the possible recommended kappa for the gaps identified. So the manufacturer need not to worry about the kappa. They also get a hint of corrective and preventive actions which are supposed to be taken for each audit observations. So this is the first stage of gap analysis audit. Generally, the team who performs the gap analysis audit stays with the client until the completion of the USFDA inspection project. After the gap analysis audit, the team also provides a lot of support to the client. Here, the support is provided either on-site or off-site, depending on the nature of the support or the solutions required by the client. First is the validation support. So our team comes to the site, they check the materials, they check the quality control laboratories, they check the readiness of the complete site to start the process validation for an USFDA inspection project or a dossier submission project, whatever the project it may be for a US market. So the support to client is also done on-site or off-site by 2 to 3 certified auditors and subject matter experts during the audit as well as during on-site. Any queries or any questions that arises during the establishment of kappa or implementation of kappa, you can get back to the client, and you can get back to PharmSol, and PharmSol offers the solutions. Also offer training to the staff, including the senior management, on the preparation of the site. Okay. And we also perform vendor qualification audits to support our clients. Vendor qualification audits are done for raw materials, API, API starting materials, chemicals, intermediates, even including API sites, packaging materials, excipients. We conduct even the audit of every facility that is part of the pharma supply chain. We also audit the traders and the distributors who are part of an raw material supply chain. And it's an altogether and separate systematic approach. You can contact PharmSol for most systematic audit reports. You can also browse our site to access numerous audit reports, which you may require any point of time. You can access our website also. We also conduct facility risk assessment, like I have explained to you earlier. Based on the complexity of the site, if your site is doing oncology drugs and peanut drugs or oncology drugs or cephalosporins, also help the company in many other aspects as part of the support to client. You can contact PharmSol for any kind of issues that you have. And the third step is mock audits. Mock audits are merely like the actual authority inspections. The audit is again conducted for 3 to 5 days on site, and after the completion of audit, we also given a mock audit report to the client, and with all recommendations for the kappa. So this mock audit is really helps the client to prepare the site for USFDA inspection. This is the fourth step of an USFDA inspection preparation, where we present ourselves during the inspection at the site. We basically take over the site before the inspection. We make a facility walkthrough. We review all critical documents. We verify the readiness of the site. This is the fourth step of USFDA inspection, and Now, this is the last step, then the most crucial step of USFDA inspection project. So, as a post-inspection support, uh, we, you know, uh, we prepare the response sometimes, or as per the understanding with the clients, we make the responses for the 483 observations. In addition to the preparation of the response, we also verify the corrective and preventive actions, commitments that are made as part of the USFDA inspection. And we also liaison with the USFDA. We submit the CAPA to the agency. Before we submit, we review all the supporting documents, and then finally the response goes to the USFDA authorities. And the support is extended until you get an acceptance letter to the inspectional observations. We are innovative, comprehensive, and we give tailor-made solutions. Where are we? We started our company in Dubai, and which is known as Pharmaceutical Solutions FZCO. And in the year 2010, we have established our next company, PharmSol Europe Limited, Malta. In the year 2011, we established our another company in Dubai itself, which is Pharmaceutical Solutions DMCC Dubai. And in the year 2013, we established PharmSol GmbH Bad Old also in Germany. And in the year 2013, we also established PharmSol India Private Limited. In the year 2014, we established PharmSol India Private Limited, Hyderabad. In the same year, we also established PharmSol APAC Limited, Hong Kong. In the year 2016, we established PharmSol Zhuhai Technology. Zhuhai, we have an office in China. And what we have done so far, and it's a team of 75 technocrats, and still we are adding, mainly deal with the facility designs, qualifications and validations, intellectual property rights. See, this is a replica of what we have stated. Market, we take care of everything. Even one step before the product development, we also help you to, design a facility, qualifications, validations, intellectual property rights, product developments, analytical method developments, compliance strategies, like how we help you to build your quality management system, trainings for your employees, senior management professionals. And we also help companies to launch their product in other markets. And we have an presence of more than 15 members in our Nanjing office. And our panel is a group of ex-USFDA inspectors, ex-UGMP inspectors, qualified persons from European Union, biosimilar experts, senior industry experts having experience of over 200 products in US and Europe. So our panel is a group of subject matter experts. You can call it as an pool of subject matter experts. And so far we have done more than 1,000 GMP audits, from where we learn, and we also offer solutions to all our clients. We involved directly in 32 facility certifications by US, in EU as well as US. We did 6 UGMP certifications in the year 2019 itself. So we also helped companies to come out of remediations. Our company is involved in facility complaints remediation, such as USFDA inspection remediation or EDQM inspection remediation. We are also a part of doing independent assessment audits, which is as part of the remediation. FDA asked to appoint a consultant. So as a consultant, we engaged with companies, those who are supplying their material to US, to perform an independent assessment We also have developed 25 APIs and commercialized, and we have developed more than 50 finished dosage formulations and successfully launched. We also helped companies doing technology transfer. We have done more than 40 technology transfers across the world, and we also have undertaken the development of most complex analytical method validations and transfer of that analytical method to the respected laboratories. And we also have coordinated bioequivalence studies for our clients across the world. We have done more than 40 bioequivalence studies across the world. So we have a strong connection relationship with more than 40 plus major manufacturers in product development, in licensing, out licensing, launch of products to the market. And we have more than 150 clients across the globe to whom we are working at present. So we also been accredited by European Compliance Academy. Most of our auditors and subject matter experts, they are accredited by Europe. They are member of European Compliance Academy, and we are also part of. We also have a good number of auditors from ASQ, American Society of Quality, and we also have our auditors certified from ISO 9000 to 2005. And in case of any queries, you can contact the expert team for the Mr. Sunil Doshi, Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan, myself, Saravana Raja, and you can also contact Mr. Felix for any technical or business related queries. And you can also visit our office in Nanjing with prior appointment. And I thank you everyone